This program is brought to you by Link TV for educational and non-commercial use only. Mosaic, a daily news program from Link TV, presents a selection of news reports from independent and state-controlled broadcasters from throughout the Middle East.
ونتابع من الملف الفلسطيني الداخلي. توعدت حركة فتح باتخاذ
The Fatah movement threatened to take harsh and unprecedented measures against Hamas if it prevents Fatah members in Gaza from attending the Bethlehem conference. Hamas, however, insisted on its position and demanded that its detainees in the West Bank be released so that the two factions could overcome their internal crisis.
الموقف يتعقد بصورة درامية بين حركتي فتح وحماس.
The situation between Fatah and Hamas is getting dramatically complicated, and they seem to be heading towards more escalation, threatening the national dialogue between the two groups mediated by Cairo. The Fatah movement threatened to take unprecedented, harsh and tragic measures if Hamas prevents its members in Gaza from attending its sixth conference scheduled to take place on August 4th in Bethlehem. One Fatah security official threatened to arrest dozens of Hamas officials in the West Bank, saying that the list of those who will be arrested has already been made.
وقال إن قوائم الاعتقال باتت جاهزة.
Hamas has threatened that it will not allow Fatah members in Gaza to attend the conference so long as Fatah refuses to release 1,000 of its detainees. The head of the Fatah party in the parliament, Azzam al-Ahmad, said that preventing Fatah members from attending the conference is a big blow to the national dialogue and described it as blackmail against Fatah and the Palestinian Authority.
لجهود الحوار الوطني وابتزازا للحركة والسلطة.
In every round of national dialogue, they come up with a new crisis that has nothing to do with the main reason behind the division. We told them, let us just coordinate only for the sake of holding the elections, and let us leave all other issues on the shelf.
Hamas, however, made the release of its detainees a precondition for allowing Fatah members in Gaza to attend the Fatah conference in Bethlehem. Regional and international mediation efforts have failed to deter Hamas from its position. Hamas denied accusations that it does not want to use national dialogue as a way to overcome the internal Palestinian crisis.
We in the Hamas movement have said from the beginning that dialogue is the only way out of internal divisions. I can't understand how they want to hold elections before we can reach an agreement. How can elections be held in Gaza for the Fatah movement, and how can elections be held in the West Bank for Hamas?
Recent developments indicate that the Palestinian internal divisions between Fatah and Hamas are getting deeper and more complicated as they absolutely refuse to change their positions and to stop using divisive language to promote their own interests.
منعت الشرطة الإيرانية مير حسين موسوي المرشح الخاسر.
Iranian police have prevented the defeated presidential candidate Mir Hossein Mousavi from taking part in a memorial service in honor of the protesters who were killed during the post-election riots. The French news agency said that Mousavi was escorted by police from a cemetery in Tehran minutes after arriving there.
من وصوله إليها.
وقد حاول مؤيدوه منعه من المغادرة.
Mousavi's supporters tried to stop him from leaving the cemetery, but were countered by police, who dispersed and arrested many of the mourners.
وحاولت تفريقهم.
It seems that Tehran's fields and squares are not big enough for the Iranian opposition, with many turning out to cemeteries and burial sites around the Iranian capital. It's a move that many have described as a show of defiance against the authorities. This comes after Mir Hossein Mousavi and Mahdi Karoubi joined mourners at the Behshat Zahra cemetery to honor the death of Iranian protesters killed in the post-election riots. The mourning procession, which the Iranian government refused to allow in Tehran's largest mosque, started with police intervention. The Iranian police used batons to disperse the mourners, who came to mark the 40-day anniversary of those killed in the post-election riots. Among the dead was Neda Agha Sultan, an Iranian girl and a student of the Music Institute. Sultan was shot to death by police in the June 20th riot in a street that was overcome with protesters that day. The death of Sultan was turned into a symbol for the protesters' movement, especially after a video of her death was posted on the internet. More than 20 protesters were killed, dozens more were injured. In addition, many political figures were arrested. Meanwhile, the Iranian prosecutor general promised to release some of the detainees on Friday, which comes after the release of 140 detainees from Ivan prison in Tehran last Tuesday. Nearly 20 detainees will be put on trial for acting against the country's national security. The number of detainees, however, continues to fluctuate. Meanwhile, many inside and outside of Iran are accusing Tehran of committing violations against the detainees and have called for their release.
Iraqi security forces took control of the Ashraf military camp, which was under the control of the Mujahidi al-Khalq terrorist organization. The security forces tried yesterday to enter the military camp in order to raise the Iraqi flag inside of it and establish a police station there in the framework of a plan to establish sovereignty over all of its territory. However, members of the group prevented the government forces and fought them. This led to the injury of many Iraqi security forces.
While trying to execute orders to regain control over the Ashraf military camp of the Mujahidi Khalq, the Iraqi forces tried to enter the military camp, but members of this organization prevented them. The organization has closed the doors of the military camp and fought the Iraqi forces using stones and sharp objects, injuring dozens of Iraqi security forces. After hours of clashes, the security forces managed to enter the camp and imposed a curfew. They raised the Iraqi flags inside it and put it under Iraqi jurisdiction.
As soon as we entered, we opened the police station and raised the Iraqi flag. This is Iraqi land, and therefore it must be under Iraqi jurisdiction. However, Mujahideen al-Khalq rejected this. As the commander of the anti-riot police in the Diyala province, I've tried to deal with them in a gentle way, but they responded with force. They injured many members of the unit.
The local Iraqi government in the Diyala province said that the presence of Iraqi forces inside the military camp is a step towards establishing Iraqi control over its territories. This step also shows that the Iraqi government rejects the presence of this organization, which is on the terrorist list of the international community, as well as Iraq.
It wasn't a raid, it was rather an operation to regain Iraqi rights. According to the security agreement with the United States, Iraq has the right to take responsibility over this military camp. This military camp was built with Iraqi money, and the Mujahideen al-Khalq organization has been long banned by the United Nations.
The Iraqi forces were deployed inside and outside the Ashraf military camp. Members of the Mujahidi Khalq, who are based inside it, are being accused of committing hundreds of crimes from within its walls. Entering the Ashraf military camp is a step towards regaining Iraqi sovereignty. According to government sources, this step is an implementation of government orders to remove Mujahidi Khalq from Iraqi lands. From inside the police station of the Diyala province, Haidar Qasim Al-Alam.
Britain's opposition parties have started an inquiry into the reasons why Britain decided to join the U.S.-led invasion of Iraq in 2003. The former civil servant in charge of the inquiry, John Chilcott, has said how the investigation will be carried out.
It will consider the period from the summer of 2001 to the end of July 2009, embracing the run-up to the conflict in Iraq, the military action, and its aftermath. We will, therefore, be considering the United Kingdom's involvement in Iraq, including the way decisions were made and actions taken.
Chilcott said his committee would make criticisms if they found that mistakes were made or that there were issues that could have been dealt with better. He said the proceedings will be as open as possible for the public to have confidence in the integrity and the independence of the inquiry process. Chilcott announced that senior British figures involved in decision-taking will be among those invited to supply information, so the task could be conducted thoroughly. Britain's Prime Minister Gordon Brown had initially called for a private probe citing security reasons, but he was later forced to abandon his plans. The conclusions will be published in July next year.
It's an Emirates ambition that exceeded Earth's boundaries to its outer orbit. At exactly 10:45 p.m. Emirates local time, the UAE launched its first Earth observation satellite, dubbed Dubai Sat-1, into space. The rocket was launched from the Baikonur launching ground in Kazakhstan under the direction of Emirates scientists and engineers, who helped build and equip nearly 30% of this historic project. Dubai Sat-1 is the first Earth observation satellite owned by the United Arab Emirates. This proves that the UAE is determined to acquire space technology for the development of its advanced and scientific research institution. Last night, a new satellite dubbed Dubai Sat-1 joined Earth's stars and moons. This reflects the seriousness and determination of the UAE to acquire space technology for the use and development of its technical and scientific research institution. The satellite will also collect data from space and transmit it to ground observation stations. The project will help the overall development initiative launched by the UAE. More details about the launch of this satellite are in the following report.
دبي سات 1 هذا القمر الصناعي الذي يمثل حدثا تقنيا.
Dubai Sat-1, which is the UAE's first Earth observation satellite, is an important technical and scientific achievement. It's a huge leap for the UAE's science and technology initiatives and for the nation's aspirations. The rocket, which took more than 5 years to develop by the Emirates Institution for Advanced Science and Technology, is ready to embrace the sky.
أول قمر استشعار عن بعد تملكه دولة الإمارات العربية المتحدة.
The UAE now owns its first Earth observation satellite, which reflects its seriousness to obtain advanced scientific and space technology. Additionally, there is a constant need for Earth observation satellite information, which is important for achieving comprehensive development. The scientific importance of the project is reflected in the fact that it is a joint venture between South Korean and Emirates scholars.
وضمن إطار مشروع مشترك تستخدم فيه أكثر الكاميرات.
The most advanced cameras in the world are being used in this project, which will be used to enhance agricultural developments and to detect possible natural disasters, such as earthquakes, which is very important in deciding on the location of future gigantic development projects. This breakthrough will also be beneficial for concerned government institutions, because it will help them better carry out construction and development projects in the UAE. The reports released by the Dubai Sat-1 will be used in many civic projects, such as studying the effects of sun rays on the Earth, water surfaces, and other space-related research projects, which have many applications. Dubai Sat-1 was launched in Kazakhstan's Baikonur launching pad by the international space company Cosmotras, which was in charge for the launching operation in coordination with a group of engineers and Emirates scientists. 30% of the 184 billion dirham project was completed by scientists from the UAE.
With the blessing of God, the launch process was completely successful, and Dubai Sat-1 is now carrying the UAE's flag in space.
Palestinians with Jordanian passports went to sleep last night and woke up without them. A special investigation with our correspondent Marlan Shahaf from Amman.
Overnight, 20 members of the Abu Samra family woke up with the nightmare of mass deportation. They are left with no identification cards, no nationality, and without a Jordanian social security number. They are no longer recognized as nationals east of the Jordan River. Of course, they are also denied their Palestinian nationality by the Israeli occupation taking place west of the river.
Since 1979, I've kept my family's record. I'm a settled Jordanian. I bought land I built on. I own a home, and there's no person who can take my Jordanian nationality away from me. However, overnight, with the stroke of a pen, a new employee took it away from me for no reason. This is completely unacceptable. We don't have Palestinian passports or IDs, and at the same time, they've taken our Jordanian social security numbers away. So now we're neither Palestinians nor Jordanians.
3 days ago, New TV met with some government officials, but they remained silent about the reasons for why they are revoking these citizenships. However, this did not stop New TV from taking different routes.
This is a crime. It's a human crime. This is a type of genocide that aims to eliminate a segment of the Jordanian people. These are Jordanian citizens. They are taking social security numbers away from Jordanian citizens. So they are going to take these cases to the European courts or the Jordanian Supreme Court, and they are going to take back their social security numbers despite what the Interior Minister is doing. The thing that really makes you mad is that they talk about correcting the situation. I've never seen someone harming citizens under the pretext of improving their situation. What do they mean correcting the situation? This is devastating. This is the destruction of whole lives.
In numbers, during the past 4 years, about 56,939 managed to reclaim their social security numbers and replace their green Jordanian ID cards with yellow ones. In contrast, 2017 lost their social security numbers and their yellow ID cards were replaced with green ones. This means that 4% of those who were naturalized were actually subsequently stripped of their Jordanian citizenship. Based on this figure, one can say that 96% of West Bank Palestinians were able to maintain their citizenship.
نسمعه بالفترة الأخيرة أنه يتم سحب هذه البطاقات وإعطائهم بطاقات خضراء.
According to what we've heard recently, they are taking away these cards and are giving us green ID cards. They are not being treated badly. They are only stripped of their social security numbers, which means that they no longer have voting or political rights. However, they live normal lives in Jordan, but without the duties of Jordanian citizens. The Israeli Knesset speaker issued threats to Jordan and demanded that the Palestinian issue be solved in the Jordanian state and at Jordan's expense. This is what we reject. We stand strongly against it, and we stand by the eternal right of return. I have a religious decree about this subject. Anyone who gives up the right of return to Palestine is an infidel.
The fundamental struggle is not about gaining an identification card from the occupiers, but rather about achieving the right of return for the refugees who carry Jordanian nationalities. They were issued passports in 1954 as a precondition that one day their right of return would be realized.
الآن مع مستجدات الأمور وما يرد الآن من معطيات جديدة وفق
Because the U.S. administration will be introducing a new plan sponsored by President Obama, which will supposedly be announced 2 weeks from now, there are fears that Israel will take advantage of the loopholes in the disengagement agreement made between the West Bank and Jordan by taking measures against Jordan and the Palestinians.
الموجودة في قانونية فك الارتباط بين الضفة الغربية والأردن.
There are fears in Jordan that Israel will transfer large numbers of Palestinians to Jordan, who will then be a large burden on the Jordanian population and state.
هناك مخاوف من الأردن طبعا بأن تقوم إسرائيل بتهجير.
There are fears that the transfer scheme will even extend to the 1948 Palestinians, because they are also threatened under the pretext of protecting the Jewish identity of Israel.
الدولة الأردنية وهناك مخاوف
These are indications that raise concern among us, especially when considering that the new Israeli government, led by Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, would not hesitate to declare such positions. To begin with, the Israeli government won the elections by expressing this type of extremism.
It is easy for journalists to take the sides of the victims for those who complain, but at the end of the day, one must report the truth. The primary issue is not victimizing the Palestinians by denying them their basic constitutional rights, which is their right to Jordanian nationality. Rather, the main issue is how to act in a way that helps the Palestinians return to their homes. For now, what the Palestinians in the West Bank must do is maintain their identification cards that were given to them by the occupation forces so that they will be able to keep their yellow Jordanian identification cards and their social security numbers.
In a new racially motivated move, the Israeli Ministry of Education has required schools, including Arab schools inside Israel, to teach nationalist songs and the national anthem of Israel. The decision has angered the Arab minority inside Israel. Meanwhile, the Higher Follow-Up Committee, a national political body representing Israel's Arab minority, described the decision of forcing the national anthem on Arab schools and students as an attempted rape of Arab identity. In addition, member of Knesset and representative of the Democratic Front for Peace and Equality, Afu Agbaria, said that his party will seek to block the resolution. Agbaria further said that the Arab councils will not approve the new curriculum and called for the questioning of the Israeli Minister of Education.
Hamad El-Nerab, a 16-year-old Palestinian boy from the city of Rafah, loves soccer and admires Brazilian soccer star Ronaldo. El-Nerab had a dream to become a famous soccer player one day. However, Israel has stolen his dream after severing his leg 5 years ago during a raid on the Gaza Strip. Meanwhile, the Brazilian soccer superstar Ronaldo said that he will take part in a cinematic film depicting Hamad's life next September in Lebanon. Omar Bashir reports.
Hamad didn't sob over his amputated leg, but he sobbed over his stolen dream of playing soccer. Hamad, who is a fan of Brazilian soccer superstar Ronaldo, has lost his leg during an Israeli raid in 2004, an injury that altered his future but didn't kill his ambition. He sent a letter to Ronaldo expressing his love and admiration, hoping that the superstar will come to visit him, as he can't meet him outside the country due to the Israeli blockade.
I wrote to Ronaldo, wishing to meet with him face to face. I hope to see him playing on the field, not on a television screen or through a computer or in a picture like those on the wall. I want to see him in person. I have always dreamt to become a famous soccer player like Ronaldo. However, my dream was shattered.
For all it's worth, there's good news for Hamad. The Brazilian soccer player and superstar Ronaldo has agreed to take part in a cinematic film next September in Lebanon depicting Hamad's life. The film, however, will not include the part of Hamad's life pertaining to his dream of studying computer science in the university. Hamad may not be able to play soccer or dribble the ball, but most certainly he will play other sports.
After graduating from high school, I will study computer science in the university. Of course, I will not give up sports. Sports will always be in my heart. For example, I can go to the gym and work out or play ping pong.
سافر حمد إلى الولايات المتحدة الأمريكية للعلاج وشاهد مباراة.
Hamad has traveled to the U.S. for medical treatment. During his stay, he watched a home soccer game and posed for photographs with several star players. Hamad received a prosthetic limb in Slovenia, and he will return in a year to have a new one made as he grows up. However, Hamad is worried about not being able to travel abroad due to the changing Israeli policies, thus shattering his life.
Hamad or
Ronaldo of Palestine, as often called by his friends, has lost his dream of playing soccer, following the severance of his leg during the Israeli aggression on Gaza. However, Hamad has not lost hope of playing other sports, which may help him come closer to his stolen dream. Omar Bashir, Future TV, the Gaza Strip.
Some 2 weeks after the opening of Sacha Baron Cohen's new film, Bruno, the Jewish comedian is faced with death threats and a possible lawsuit relating to parts of the film shot in the West Bank. Dennis Zinn explains.
British Jewish comedian Sacha Baron Cohen of Borat fame has been threatened with lawsuits on numerous occasions.
You go out now.
His antics in the real world to generate a laugh while making a statement has angered many who appear in his films. One of his recent larks in his newest production, called Bruno, could land Cohen in a lawsuit filed by an alleged terrorist and a death threat from a terror organization. Bruno, the character portrayed by Cohen, is an over-the-top, flamboyant gay Austrian TV presenter who says he wants to be the greatest Austrian star since Hitler.
How did you find your son? I swapped him.
You swapped him? Swapped the baby for what?
For an iPod.
In one scene, he meets Ayman Abu Aita, a supermarket owner in the village of Bet Sakhur outside Jerusalem, a West Bank parliamentary candidate and a board member of several NGOs promoting Palestinian rights. However, Abu Aita was once a member of the terrorist Al-Aqsa Martyrs Brigades group, affiliated to the ruling Fatah party in the West Bank, and spent 2 years in an Israeli prison.
I want to be famous, and I want the best guys in the business to kidnap me. Al-Qaeda assault 2001. I don't like.
Abu Aita said that Cohen met him under false pretenses and Cohen besmirched his name. He said that such practice is not acceptable in Palestinian society. His lawyer, Khatem Abu Ahmed, said the association with a homosexual could get his client killed by Palestinians, while the terrorist reference is likely to get him into trouble with the Israeli authorities. He said that he's preparing a lawsuit demanding an apology and financial compensation. During a recent interview on the David Letterman show, Cohen explained his motives for approaching Abu Aita.
And we thought, what could people see that they'd never seen before on film? And we thought one thing would be a comedian interviewing a terrorist. Now, it's not that easy to find an actual terrorist.
Cohen has reportedly received death threats from Palestinian groups and is taking these seriously. However, in true Hollywood fashion, all the fuss is likely to increase ticket sales, and at the end of the day for Tinseltown, that's what counts. Dennis Zinn, IBA News.
Get more news about the Middle East online at linktv.org/Mosaic. The Mosaic webpage offers a complete archive of Mosaic programs, program transcripts, the Mosaic video podcast, and the Mosaic Intelligence Report, a weekly analysis of the hottest stories from the Middle East. The views expressed on Mosaic are those of the participating broadcasters, not Link TV or its sponsors. The production of Mosaic is made possible with the support of viewers like you. Thank you.
This program is brought to you by Link TV for educational and non-commercial use only. Link TV is the only U.S. network dedicated to global and national news, uncompromising documentaries, and diverse cultural programs. Programs which connect you to the world.